Negotiating a war prisoner's release certainly is delicate, and earlier I spoke with someone who understands that well. Wahid Monawar, a former U.S. negotiator who has experience with the Taliban. I asked him why Sergeant Bowe release couldn't be secured back in 2012. What was the stumbling block in 2012? Why could you not make a deal then?
Yeah, two things. One, that the Taliban would come out with an issue that was not the value of the movement or the value of the Taliban. It would be something that they would represent interests of Pakistan. For instance, the halt of drone strikes in North Waziristan. I have asked them repeatedly, how does this help Afghanistan?
I see.
If you want to halt, we need to talk about Afghanistan. If your struggle is about Afghanistan, we need to talk about Afghanistan.
Why was the deal eventually able to be reached? Was it the five individuals, the particular individuals that they wanted freed from Guantanamo?
Initially it was 6. I think prior to the election of 2012, I remember that the president was keen to reach an agreement with the Taliban. We sent a message to them, and the Taliban could not understand that why they had to wait 60 days. There's a 60 days waiting period because the Secretary of Defense has to sign in, the Secretary of State, and then it has to go to the Congress. And I think the White House knew that the Congress would object to the release of them. And this time they have bypassed the Congress. I think the Taliban have also realized that they cannot win the war in Afghanistan. The army is very strong. They need to have certain negotiation, certain terms with the Americans. For Obama administration, I think this has been a major success. Nobody wants to take these prisoners out of Guantanamo. This has been the campaign promise for President Obama since 2008, that he wants to close the prison. And it has been very difficult. Ask anyone in the world. They don't want these prisoners to be that. And Qataris have showed that. Had we notified the Congress, I think the Congress would have asked for stricter rules on the prisoners' movement in Qatar, because after a year, they're freed. And our concern is, what if they're going to go back to the battlefield?
There were comments made that he was anti-American. Was that a factor going into the negotiations?
It is difficult when you negotiate that, and Qataris were involved. At a certain point, Qataris have a different perception of the world, different perception of the politics of the world. So I don't know if that has been any factor, individually hasn't been a factor for the Taliban. But it seems like he's content. He's back with his family, so that's a big news for the family. And I think there's a process, a military process, to question how he left the base and how he adapt back to the society.
Are the rules any different for a U.S. citizen or a U.S. soldier in terms of negotiating?
Obviously, the Taliban see more leverage on a U.S. soldier. Soldiers are treated differently than a U.S. citizen. I believe that there's a U.S. citizen that has been kidnapped by Pakistani Taliban, Mr. Weinstein, and has been in captivity there. And we don't have the same leverage with him. He was an individual, a citizen, was in Pakistan and was doing business. Things are not clear in that regard. Versus the sergeant was at a battlefield and was going against the Taliban. So it has different level of leverage.